objetivo principal del cuidado animal.
The main objective of animal care is to preserve the health and general welfare of the animals, fulfilling their 5 freedoms, including freedom from pain and freedom from starvation.
Del bienestar o de la salud animal. Las 5 libertades son la base.
The 5 freedoms are the basis of animal welfare. They speak of animals having proper nutrition and hydration, being in a correct environment, being able to express their natural behavior, having emotional well-being, and with respect to health as such, being free of disease.
Eso es lo que comprenden las 5 libertades que buscan, como te digo, propender por este bienestar animal.
La situación actual de salud bovina.
The current bovine health situation at the national level is mainly controlled by the regulatory body, the ICA. In the monitoring and certification of free data against Brussels disease, tuberculosis, and all official control regulations against foot and mouth disease and Brussels.
Los búfalos tienen el mismo tipo de enfermedades que el bovino.
Buffaloes have the same type of diseases as cattle. It is an animal that must be vaccinated against foot and mouth disease, tuberculosis, and so on. In this regard, it is necessary to have vaccination control and also permanent sampling to eliminate contaminated animals from the herd. This is very important.
Hablando de búfalo en general, hay algunas diferencias con el bovino.
Talking about buffalo in general, there are some differences with cattle because buffalo are more resistant to certain diseases. It is an animal that looks for water. They look for swamps and that protects them from ticks and certain insects, but at the same time it also exposes them to certain diseases. It is necessary to purge quite regularly, control hemoparasites, and in this it is similar to other animals because everything must be with good nutrition.
Si se parece a los demás animales en una buena nutrición. Cuando hay una nutrición deficiente, las defensas del animal.
When there is a deficient nutrition, the animal's defenses are the first thing that decreases. So no matter how many drugs or treatments one invests in them, if the feed is not sufficient, there will be a high incidence of diseases and deaths.
Históricamente la lucha contra las enfermedades bovinas.
Historically, as regards the fight against bovine diseases, every day the risk has been mitigated much more, and the parameters have been lowered. Today we can say that we are controlled by vaccination, which is a good thing. However, there is still a lack of coverage in some areas of the country, specifically with the control of brucella, lactose, tuberculosis, but everything is framing a control that is more and more costly day by day.
Colombia a nivel latinoamericano.
Colombia is one of the leaders in Latin America in terms of bovine health, in terms of production systems, both in beef and dairy or dual purpose. The whole of Central America is based on the parameters that we handle in the livestock production system.
Que nosotros manejamos en el sistema de producción ganadera por el control de enfermedades infecciosas, por el control de biológicos.
For the control of infectious diseases, for the control of biologicals, for the control of parasites, and specifically all health plans that are established in livestock production farms. The buffalo in Colombia and in neighboring countries have had great growth in the last 10 to 20 years. It is increasingly exponential. We come from a minimal herd, and today we are reaching 700 to 800,000 animals throughout Colombia, and in Venezuela, even with quite large growth. It is a good alternative because it is an animal that is resistant to high humidity.
Los ganaderos tienen ese problema de que
Farmers have this problem when it rains a lot or not at all. Then, when there are big winters, The animals suffer because of the humidity that affects their legs and breathing, and when there are big summers, their feeding decreases.
El búfalo en la parte de mucho invierno es muy resistente.
The buffalo is very resistant to the winter. On the contrary, it is its natural environment. This has motivated many ranchers to switch to buffalo because their farms are more humid, thus obtaining a better economic result.
Entonces, obtiene un resultado económico superior.
La salud en el hato se logra siendo responsable.
Herd health is achieved by being responsible in the first instance, being very clear that cattle raising is a business, and as such must be governed by certain margins of care, both in terms of health and administration. In order for us to achieve the health objectives within the herd,
Hay varios parámetros. El primero y fundamental son planes sanitarios estrictos.
we must take into account several parameters. The first and fundamental one is strict health plans, whether in closed or open herds, but all governed by the standards. We have very clear and concise regulations that have led us to achieve important sanitary status for the export of meat and even milk. Considering the importance of health, animal welfare, and drugs to control diseases,
Las drogas para controlar enfermedades hay que empezar desde de lo más importante.
we must start from the most important thing that leads to this good condition, and that is first of all good nutrition. There are people who invest in genetics to improve the herd and productivity, which is very good. But if there is no good nutrition,
Lo demás no le va a funcionar bien. Entonces, es un mensaje a los ganaderos.
the rest is not going to work. So, this is a message to cattlemen to study a lot, make bromatological examinations of their pastures, and see where they are deficient so that they can supplement their cattle for those deficiencies and achieve good nutrition. The investment in veterinary drugs and sanitary issues in general will be greatly reduced.
En buen estado.
Como estrategia, control y erradicación de enfermedades, lo primero es la tendencia a cerrar el hato.
As a strategy for disease control and eradication, the first thing is a tendency to close the herd. When you close a herd, it means that everything you have is either born on the farm or was certified while there. This means that there are no sanitary consequences
Digamos que consecuencia sanitaria o todos están bajo los parámetros óptimos sanitarios. Bueno, ¿qué me parece a mí importante?
or that all animals are under optimal health parameters. Something very important for me as a professional of the guild and a generalized message as a company is that we must be strategic, prudent, and above all, know how to use both pharmacological and agronomic implements in the management of productions so that every day the production is cleaner and we have less risk of contamination within the welfare of animals and human consumption.
El manejo sanitario del hato caprino y ovino es muy fundamental porque de ahí pues es como la primicia.
The sanitary management of the goat and sheep herd is fundamental because it is the first step for our productivity and to have efficient, profitable, and sustainable production. We have to take into account an adequate deworming plan because these animals have a high content of parasites, unlike species such as cattle. From there, we have to implement very rigorous sanitary plans
Muy rigurosos, teniendo en cuenta que debemos rotar los principios activos que se utilizan.
taking into account that we must rotate the active ingredients used in our sheepfolds and sheepfolds. The current situation of goat sheep health has been getting better and better. The important thing is that we have found the diagnosis of the main diseases that negatively affect these productions. Once we have obtained this diagnosis with certainty,
Con certeza podemos establecer un tratamiento
we can establish a treatment. and make a management to reduce the pathologies that occur at the level of change.
Algo también que tenemos que tener en cuenta son los planes de vacunación.
Something that we must take into account are the vaccination plans. This is very important to prevent diseases. In these species, we present diseases such as charcoal or anthrax. The latter is a bacterium present in the soil, too aggressive, and the only thing we can do is to control it by vaccination. We do this process once a month after our lamb or kid is born, and we are going to repeat it annually. These two species are also within the vaccination plan for foot and mouth disease.
Dentro del sistema o el plan de vacunación de aftosa,
Hygiene in sheep and goat farms, as in any other species, must be based on preventative measures. Sanitary protocols are essential.
Esencial. Por ejemplo, una vestimenta adecuada para...
For example, having adequate clothing to be able to attend to the animals, or disinfection before entering the herd. Remember that in these activities, we find our types of populations. So when you infect one animal, you are going to infect the rest. Any measure taken is essential.
Un animalito va a infectar el resto del animal. Que cualquier medida que se tome es esencial.
La seguridad alimentaria se relaciona con la salud bovina, ovina y caprina.
Food safety is related to bovine, ovine, and caprine health. So we have to provide the necessary safety so that the meat and milk that is going to be produced and consumed has a necessary quality and safety.
Pues para que sea segura para ese consumidor final. Entonces, ahí es donde nosotros, pues,
This is where all our plans that we implement for deworming, vitamins, vaccines, and others must be respected and go for the safety of the final consumer. We must respect both the withdrawal times in milk, meat, among others, and also take into account the productive objectives of our farm. The idea is that the products arrive with good quality and safety for our final customers.
clientes finales o consumidores finales.
Yo quisiera ver a Colombia, a todo, desde la Guajira hasta el Amazonas, desde Arauca hasta Chocó.
I would like to see Colombia from La Guajira to the Amazon, from Arauca to Chocó, everyone raising 10 goats. I'm sure we would solve the problems of protein source for food security. This is a farm where everyone can have space, from the humblest to the one with the most land. Surely, as production and exploitation improve,
A medida de que mejore la producción y la explotación, va a haber mayor seguridad alimentaria.
there will be greater food security. In fact, in the most remote communities such as La Guajira, where there is no poultry, there is nothing. The large farms are in goat and sheep farming.
Agricultura y unicultura. Y ganadería muy poca, reducida también los cerdos. O sea, en poblaciones donde
But livestock and pig production are very few. In towns where there is no space for this type of production, sheep and goat farming fill this space in rural families and in Colombia in general.
de toda Colombia.
Entonces, algo o unos datos muy claves para tener en cuenta.
So some very key data to keep in mind with respect to our goats and sheep is that while we have in a farm an animal of 500 kilograms talking about cattle, you can have 10 small animals talking about goats and sheep with average weights of 45 kilograms. This is a very good alternative in terms of carrying capacity for our production systems. In smaller areas, we will produce more. It must be taken into account regarding the male to female ratio that while we need one bull for a batch of 20 females,
20 hembras, en bovinos y ovinos hablamos de un macho para 50 hembras.
in sheep we are talking about one male for 50 males. This makes our production much more profitable at a national level. This makes these goat and sheep systems more sustainable and safer alternatives, both economically and in terms of meat, wool, and milk production.
Y leche.
La ovinocultura y caprinocultura tiene un eslogan, como dicen, aprendí los brasileros.
Sheep and goat farming have a slogan. As I learned from the Brazilians, sheep and goat farming makes more friends every day. I can conquer hearts, but I can really conquer hearts. I can give technology. I can give knowledge and information. I can share a menu and then I win friends. That is the slogan, but I want to leave you that every day people can get into this sector. You will meet very beautiful and very beautiful people from the heart.
Mira, las enfermedades de control oficial en Colombia para los equinos son 3.
The official control diseases in Colombia for equines are 3. We have influenza, Venezuelan equine encephalitis, and equine infectious anemia. For these 2, there is a vaccine. As responsible horse owners, we must make sure that these vaccines are given at the right time. Regarding equine infectious anemia, this is a disease that is detected through an official ICA test. It does not have any type of vaccine or treatment as such. If unfortunately any horse comes out positive to this disease, it must be destined to slaughter. That is why it is so important to perform this follow-up within the established dates.
La situación actual nacional de la población equina.
Regarding the current national situation of the equine population, we can say that it is good. We obviously have some pathologies or diseases that are characteristic of horses, that are closely related to the activities that the horse performs. Obviously, there are some endemic or special control diseases, but they are under control in the country. We have not had any outbreak of any of these diseases. In general, we can say that everything is under control.
El manejo sanitario que debemos tener dentro de los criaderos de caballos o
The sanitary management that we must have inside the farms or as horse keepers, although it varies a lot depending on the area where you are, must tend to comply with some basic things. 1. You have to guarantee a correct feeding or nutritional supplementation for the equines, whether they require some type of concentrate or fiber.
fibra, garantizar una buena calidad de agua. Adicional a esto,
Also, guarantee good water quality and in addition to this, deworming. The problems that horses can present due to high parasite loads can be quite complicated. A person who has these specimens should have these protocols. Deworm their horses every 3 months maximum.
parasitar sus caballos cada 3 meses máximo. Esto obviamente acompañado de su médico veterinario para tener una correcta.
This obviously accompanied by your veterinarian to have a correct advice of the product that best suits you. In the case of horses in Colombia, we know that most of them are dedicated to some sporting activity, like our Colombian horse, such as polo horses, jumping horses, enduro horses. These are considered athletes and high-performance sportsmen. Therefore, in order to guarantee their welfare, we also have to guarantee a correct training plan that allows us to guarantee the health and welfare of these horses. As I mentioned before, in the case of official controlled diseases, we must guarantee vaccination, and in addition, there are other diseases that may also require these vaccinations, depending on the area and the characteristics of each farm. As I say, it is important to always be advised by your veterinarian. to identify the challenges that we have in order to use these biologics that you may require.
Los caballos deben tener garantizado, como hablábamos antes de las 5 libertades.
Within the 5 freedoms and to benefit their emotional health or environment, horses must have guaranteed hygiene. In a stall, you should always make sure that the feeders and drinkers are clean, that they have a good quality water source. Basically, if the water is contaminated, it can also contaminate the horses with some diseases. The beds they have, in the case of those that are in a stall, should be cleaned daily. Normally, if you do not do a proper cleaning, you start to have problems. For example, flies, which are very uncomfortable for horses and can also cause health problems. So for hygiene, it is key to have these 3 basic aspects: the bedding, the feeder, and the drinker.
Las principales enfermedades que pueden afectar a los equinos son muy variables dependiendo de la zona.
The main diseases that can affect equines are very variable depending on the area, activity or purpose for which the equines are kept. Commonly we can find diseases of non-infectious type, but of mechanical type.
Decirle así, como te contaba antes, los caballos son utilizados en diferentes disciplinas deportivas, lo cual hace que sean muy propensos.
As I was telling you before, horses are used in different sports disciplines, which makes them very prone to suffer injuries of this type: muscle tears, fractures, tendinitis, trauma blows, among others. As I said, these are not of infectious origin. They are more of a traumatic type due to the discipline they perform. That is why I repeat what I said before. It is very important to have a well-established training plan for the horse.
Ya si hablamos de enfermedades infecciosas, acá podemos encontrarnos como por ejemplo la famosa gurma.
If we talk about infectious diseases, here we can find the famous equine gurma, which affects a large number of horses and is highly contagious.
Cuando tienes un caballo que se contagió de esta bacteria, porque es producida por una bacteria.
When you have a horse that is infected with this bacterium, it can easily spread to other horses. In the case of influenza, an officially controlled disease that also spreads very easily, it can occur with a high incidence in the country. That is the most frequent that we can find. I would like to make an invitation to all the people who are watching us, who own horses or who are thinking of owning horses. Regardless of the discipline and the number of horses they have, it is important that they seek the advice of a good veterinarian. Nowadays, I believe that veterinarians can be found in every corner of the country. Therefore, the key for us to be able to promote and maintain the proper health of our equines is always to be very well advised. We tend to sometimes fall into doing what someone else who has horses does, or what I find on the internet. As I was saying, the world is now a click away, but this does not replace the knowledge and experience that a veterinarian can have. Seeing your horses live to know what their needs are, this is personalized. The needs of your kennel are not the same as the needs of another kennel, or the needs of your horse with the needs of another horse. My advice is that please get good advice always from a good veterinarian.